Well, Trade Union Federation Cosatu says it welcomes plans to expand the bank's mandate. For more on this, I'm joined by Cosatu General Secretary Beki Njalinjale. Good evening, sir, and thank you very much for your time. You heard your comrades there slugging it out, contradicting one another. What is your take on what happened over the past 24 hours first?
I don't understand myself as to what is the big issues in relation to the contradiction that has been made publicly. We're part of the 2017 conference, which confirmed the 53rd National Congress resolution of the ANC that the mandate of the Reserve Bank should not only focus on the question of currency stability, but it also has to broaden to look to the employment creation. And I don't understand really what is the big fuss about these issues. What the Lekgotla, which were party to it, was that whatever it discussed must be arising from the ANC resolution. And in that respect, there's nothing has changed. So the question of broadening the mandate has been there. The issues is whether you need to put a legislation in that particular instances. Even the president made it a call that at some point, if you may remember, when Tito was the governor of Reserve Bank, which was also said publicly in the conference, the Minister of Finance then wrote to him and said, as you consider the price stability of the rand, please bear in mind the question of the job creation. So nothing has...
Kodonga says that matter was left there and it was closed.
No, it was not closed because it says the Reserve Bank must broaden its mandate to job creation.
So Tito Mboweni and Kodongwana got it all wrong?
I think so, or they got other interests. I mean, they might be fearing that you're saying this thing, whether it's correct or not, will put the instability of the rand, and they might be worried about those things. But you need to be brave to follow through the decision of the Congress. There's no doubt about that one, including the issues, for an example, of the call for nationalization of the Reserve Bank. The president even spoke about this thing in the conference and says what the ANC has been talking about, people calling for the nationalization of the Reserve Bank. He make a comment and who says, if you have to do that one, because other countries have nationalized the Reserve Bank, but in other countries you have to buy out, you have to pay the shareholders if you want to take it to the state. You can't just take it unless there's a resolution that says nationalized without compensation. So I don't understand what is the fuss.
What could be the interest that someone like Kodongwana, what could be the interest that he would want to serve? And I'm saying this, I'm asking this because, I mean, here is a person who was the general secretary of one of your most radical affiliates back in the day when he was the general secretary. And, I mean, he used to be one of the Cosatu's foremost intellectuals. What could have happened to him? What interest could he be serving now?
His union has been consistently saying nationalize the Reserve Bank. He's not saying even that one. So people change over time in dealing with those particular issues. We're debating in terms of Tito himself, whether he's got some shares in the Reserve Bank, but I think you can ask them quite clearly in terms of where and what informs them in dealing with those issues. There's no dispute that the Lekgotla has no decision-making, and in any way, resolution of the ANC are not taking in Lekgotla. But the issues of of expanding the mandate to create employment is not new in the ANC.
I want you to listen to what Tito Mboweni had to say.
Nobody is talking about changing the mandate of the South African Reserve Bank. That mandate is very clearly stipulated in the Constitution. And I don't understand why the obsession about the central bank all the time. Why we say things which we know are going to destabilize the market. What's the purpose What is the nature of the problem we're trying to solve?
He calls it an obsession. But doesn't he have a point that our problems are bigger than simply focusing on the role of the Reserve Bank? And I'm saying this also, looking at the statement of the ANC, it's a 9-page statement that the ANC issued yesterday. And you chose to come up with a 2-pager that speaks only to the issue of the Reserve Bank.
Look, I can't talk about the length of the ANC statement and how they should be crafting in terms of those issues. I know that when the ANC tabled the outcome of the Lekgotla, it took time, many pages that we're talking about in dealing with those issues, so as to why they might be focusing on one area. But what
saying you. This is the ANC statement that is like 9 pages long.
I'm saying,
this is the Cosatu statement that is only 2 pages long, and it focuses solely
because
on
there's a debate in public. That's what this statement is a statement that we did not craft because of the ANC debate. Of the ANC outcome is on the debate that is being canvassed. For an example, Tito says nobody. How does he constitute a labor movement if nobody talks about expansion of the mandate? Is that it reduces any other idea to be non-existent in dealing with those things? It would be ingenious to say about that one. Even if he can say there was nobody said in the Lekgotla about this particular issue, I will say maybe he was absent in the meeting when this matter was debated. It was there, the extension of the mandate, and the president came quite clear and said maybe what we need to do is to do what I think the Minister of Finance did at that time. Either it could have been Tito or it could be Marcus, I can't remember well, writing a letter to the governor of Reserve Bank and saying quite categorically, when you consider the inflation, bear in mind this mandate of employment creation. It's not new.
But on the back of yesterday's GDP numbers, shouldn't you have been the bigger guys and actually look at the problems in their totality and not focus narrowly on the role of the South African Reserve Bank?
The question of the Reserve Bank, it plays a number of functions beside the stability in our view. It needed to be controlling the finances. It needed to be controlling the bank in terms of their mandate. For example, we've been arguing in our statement that the Reserve Bank is supposed to regulate banks. And banks, for an example, if you are asking for capital investment for loaning that issues, if you want to buy a house, is more difficult than getting finance for buying a car, which is a consumable kind of stuff. When we say that's the role of the Reserve Bank, is supposed to be saying to the banks as a whole, when we are doing this thing, don't go to the question of just giving people credit, that you can, the short-term kind of stuff. Give them money where they can be able to make a more contribution to this economy. And these things are not supposed to be making people be frightened. It has to be a process. Changing a mandate is not going to come just tomorrow. Even if they were to be going in that process, there has to be legislation, there has to be a debate, there have to be some consultation.
Isn't that what the ANC, which is your ally, which you voted for and backed and did everything for, to make sure that it stays in power over the past 25 years, isn't that what the ANC ought to have done rather than leaving it simply to the Reserve Bank?
No, that's what people are calling for. That's what we are calling for, that we must do it. We must do it not in a haphazard way, but do it. It has to be done one way or another.
But it's speaking in tongues now. No one knows which one.
I don't know what is
actually talking.
But also the question of anybody can speak. Anybody can speak on these particular issues. It is a call for concern. If the SG, for an example, let's say he didn't understand what was said by the body in terms of those issues, what is the role of the other ANC members? Should they go to public, contradict one another? It clearly indicates there has to be discipline in the ANC how to address issues of this nature, because whatever they said, now the person that must come up and reign on all these particular people is the ANC, is the president. He has to come out, clarify the air so that we can be able to move on rather than debating some disturbing sentiments by individuals.
Okay, so we're going to leave. Thanks very much for your time. Bheki Mtshali is, of course, the General Secretary of the Congress of South African Trade Unions.